Hi, happy Sunday, guys. I thought that since it was Sunday, I would do a live on God and we would do the playful side of Jesus, because I don't think a lot of people get to see the playful side of Jesus. They say that we were made in his image and God had a sense of humor. We have a sense of humor. We're made in his image. Of course, Jesus had a sense of humor. There's this wonderful book. It's called Beautiful Outlaw by John Eldredge. I'm going to read a passage out of that showing Jesus's playful side, and then we'll go through some maybe passages in the Bible that also show that he was playful. He was a lot of things. He was a rebel. He was playful. He had a sense of humor. He had compassion, love, hurt, pain. He went through it all, guys. You know? So I love this book so much. It just, you get to see the human in what Jesus had to go through, you know, and what he had to go through for us to get rid of our sin. So I'm gonna just do a little out of the first chapter. This is one of my favorite stories, okay? So this is, I don't know why this is my favorite story, but it is. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jessie. Jessie, you're the best. I love you so much, girl. Oh, you're awesome. I love you so much. God bless you, man. So this is one of my favorite stories in the Bible, and I didn't understand why it was my favorite, but I think I understand why it was my favorite part in the Bible, because it does show Jesus's playful side, okay? So we're starting after the resurrection, okay? The disciples are down. They're crushed. The person they thought was their Messiah has now died, and they're feeling lost, and there's doubt and sadness and grief. And, you know, they're fishing. And all of a sudden, you know, there's this man just cooking breakfast, just like a normal man, until they recognize him. And Peter don't even wait. He just fully just jumps right in. He goes straight to him. And so we're gonna read a little excerpt out of that. Jessie, thank you so much. Hello, Ella. We're talking about the playful side of Jesus. And I just think that's so awesome. That Jesus had a playful side because we were made in his image. And we can be playful as well, just like he was. Just like, you know, God's playful. He created all of this. He has a sense of humor. He's not all serious, you know? And if you could just share this, send some likes, some hearts, some gifts, that is always greatly appreciated, so I can keep, you know, ongoing my content and doing the things that I love to do. I've always been such a creative person, and, you know, it's one of my outlets, so it really, really helps, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so in the playful side of God, or Jesus, God, Jesus, same thing, but in this, it's definitely depicting more on his human side, because he was both. He needed to go through what we go through. I feel this is my unprofessional opinion, because I am not a pastor. I don't have the education. You know what I mean? But I feel that once God made himself in human form and went through and felt everything and all of our struggles and our temptations, and I feel like it brought us so much closer to him, you know, in his eyes too. Like, I feel like because he understood us better than when he was just straight, you know, up there. When he came down to us and came in as a servant and as a baby, as so helpless, you know, like he didn't have a choice. Someone else had to take care of him, of the Messiah. And he trusted us to do that. All so he could be slain for our sinfulness. You know? So we're just going to go over the playfulness of God. And like I said, John Eldredge, this is an amazing book. I know my thing's not like really reversed. But I won't read the whole chapter. But the playfulness of God. So this episode takes place a week or so after Jesus saunters out of the tomb he borrowed. I love how they say that, borrowed. Like he was just borrowing it. The Apostle John, one of Jesus's closest friends, recounts it. Afterward, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. It happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, called Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the son of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. "I'm going out to fish," Simon Peter told them, and they said, "We will go with you." So they went out and they got into a boat, but that night they caught nothing. Again. Because this is actually the second time this has happened to them. So early in the morning, Jesus stood on shore, but the disciples, they didn't realize it was Jesus. And he called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." And when they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. And then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garments around him, for he had taken them off, and jumped into the water. Like, he did not even care. He was like, "It's Jesus, I'm gone." Like, jumped in the water. Like, he ain't even waiting for them to reel that boat back to shore. That's so funny. So the other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coal there, and with fish on it and some bread. So like now he's like sitting there and he's making them breakfast. That's so cool. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you have caught." Simon Peter climbed aboard and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." John 21:1-12. I love that. He's just sitting on the shore like nothing happened. So many things are delicious about this story. I mean, it's hard to know where to dive in. First, the boys have gone fishing. Can you blame them? The events of the past 2 weeks have been, to say the least, overwhelming. The emotional high of the triumphal entry, palm branches waving, crowd shouting, "Hosanna," it all came crashed lower than anyone thought possible. Their beloved Jesus was tortured, executed, entombed, but then, fantastic beyond imagining, he appeared to them alive again twice. Though at this moment they are not sure where he has gone off to. Not really sure what to do next. Unable to endure one more agonizing moment waiting around the house. They do what any self-respecting angler who needs to get out and clear his head does. They go fishing. Apparently fishing naked or darn close to it Notice that Peter needed to put his clothes back on. Notice how casually Jesus enters the scene, right? His best friend don't even know it's him. This is the resurrected Lord, mind you, ruler of the heavens. Think Mount of Transfiguration. Jesus could have announced his risen presence on the beach with radiant glory if he wanted to, honestly. He really could. He knows there is nothing in the world that would help his mates more than to see him again. He certainly could have shouted in his commanding way, "It is I, the Lord, come thou unto me." He doesn't though. He does the opposite. He hides himself a bit longer to let this play out. He simply stands on the shore, hands in his pockets like a tourist, and asks questions curious passerbyers always do a fisherman. Catch anything? The nonchalance of the risen Christ here is absolutely intriguing. Whatever Jesus is up to in the moment is loaded for his next move. Now, two more things are needed to set the large stage properly. The nonchalance of the risen Christ here is absolutely intriguing. Whatever Jesus is up to, the moment is loaded for his next move. Now, two more things are needed to set the stage properly. First, what would you guess Jesus' mood is in this particular morning? I mean, surely it's happy. The man has conquered death, ransomed mankind, been restored to his Father, his friends, and the world he made forever. He is the afterglow of the greatest triumph of the greatest battle in the history of the cosmos. I'm going to venture that he is one mighty happy man, but not the fellows. They've been up all night, nothing to show for it, bleary, half dead at the oars while the boat rocks back and forth, back and forth. They could definitely use some cheering up. Last, how did these, his closest brothers, first encounter Jesus? It was here, along the shore of this lake. So now it's going like full circle. Like, I think that's why I love this story so much, because not only does it show Jesus's playful side, but it's come full circle. This is how he got Peter and them to follow him. Not all of them, but like whoever was there that day, because he couldn't catch any fish. And Jesus got him fish. And now after the resurrection, they're feeling down. And now here's Jesus making breakfast on the shore. They haven't caught anything, and he gives them fish. 153 exact, I think. Yeah, he's very exact with that. They could definitely use some like cheering up. So it was possibly this very spot that happened. And knowing how fishermen tend to keep their boats near a favorite hole, like that would actually make sense. That first compelling encounter also evolved the fellows skunked after a night of fishing. It too began with a seemingly random instruction. Put out into deep water and let down your nets for catch. And when they have done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets begin to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boats to come and help. And they filled their boats so full that they begin to sink. So they pulled their boats up on the shore, left everything, and followed him. Luke 5:4, 6, 7, and 11. So this has happened before, like I mentioned. It's come full circle. The first miraculous catch, nets bursting, boats swamping, it must have felt like ages ago. I mean, this was like 3 years ago. After all that is unfolded or unraveled, depending on your point of view. But it was their other story. It was their story. The way they detailed how they met Jesus, especially if it was dramatic encounter. That payload was a story this inner circle no doubt talked about many times after, as the guys will do, as fishermen will especially do. Sitting around their nightly fire, somebody brings it up to them with a smirk. Peter, the look on your face was priceless. Then, imitating Peter's reaction, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." And they all fall cracking up about it again. Luke 5:8. My buddies and I used to make an annual fishing trip to the eastern Sierra Nevada. Though our catches might not have been miraculous, we did haul in a scandalous load of fish in a classic man fashion. Campfires, canned beans, no showers, except for one year. And we brought a guy named Bill who would take an hour every morning in camp to primp and preen and even put on cologne. We would be in the car laying on the horn while Bill combed gel into his hair. Years after we ripped him for this, all anyone needed to do was start the story. Remember how Bill? And somebody would laugh, snort coffee through their nose, and the whole gang would be gasping again. So here, the famous disciples, 3 years later, they pulled another all-nighter off that same beach. The boys are skunked again, and Jesus does it again. Try the other side. Again, the nets are bursting. It's how he lets them know it's him. This is all the wink of an inside joke. That rich treasure of friendship. The running gag between mates where over time all you need to do is start the first line and everyone cracks up all over again. Try the other side. Another jackpot. Just like the good old days, nothing more needs to be said. Peter is already in the water, thrashing for shore. Do you see the playfulness in Jesus? His timing, the tension, his hiddenness, a tourist-like question. The same lame suggestion from somebody they think knows nothing about fishing, then bang. The catch. And the boys are hooked again. This is a beautiful story, made so much richer because of the playfulness of Jesus. And by the way, that little detail John tosses in the catch of 153 fish precisely, that too is a beautiful touch. I mean, the net contained a boatload of fish, nor about 150 or overgrowth, but precisely 153. This is, it seems to me, one of the most remarkable statistics ever computed. Consider the circumstances. This is after the crucifixion and the resurrection. Jesus is standing on the beach, newly risen from the dead, and it is only the third time the disciples have seen him since the nightmare of the Calvary. And yet, we learn that in the net, there was 153. How was this digit discovered? Mustn't it happen like this? Upon hauling the net shore, the disciples squatted down by the immense, writhing fish pile and started tossing them into a second pile, painstakingly counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 153. While the newly risen Lord of creation, the sustainer of their beings who died for them, would have gladly died, stood waiting, ignored until the heap of the fish was quantified. Or might it have gone like this? These retirement fishermen, overcome with the joy of seeing Jesus, leave the writhing pile where it is full, intending to get it right after breakfast. Having a cookout, which the risen Jesus grilled himself, by the way, one of them says, "Well, we gotta get that catch counted up." And the second says, "Yep." And Jesus, reaching for the last bite of roasted tilapia, says, "There's 153. Those boys smile at one another, realizing, "Oh yeah, that's right, we got Jesus back." Any way you look at it, the story is beautiful, playful, funny, so human, so hopeful, so unreligious. And it is particular quality that gives the passage its true character and gives us an essential for knowing who Jesus really is. The man is not religion. If he were, the story would have taken place in a religious setting, the temple perhaps, or even the synagogue. And Jesus would have gathered him for a Bible study or a prayer meeting. Jesus doesn't show up at the temple after the resurrection. He shows up at a beach, catching his boys fishing, filling their empty nets, and then having them over for breakfast. The relief comes in like a sea breeze on a muggy summer day, suffocating the smell of mud and dead fish, because it is an answer to a question we didn't dare ask. The God himself knows how and when to be playful with us. It's like a breath of fresh air. And this book is like great. That's just like a tiny insert from chapter 1. But it's called Beautiful Outlaw by John Eldredge, and it's great because it shows the human side of Jesus and everything he actually has to go through. I mean, it's not just a story. Like, this man was he was an outlaw. He didn't have a place to rest his head. You know what I mean? Like, he had to sleep outside the city sometimes. Sometimes he was on dirt. Okay, so several Bible passages suggest that Jesus had a playful side, often seen in his interactions with people and his teaching methods. While the Gospels, they don't describe him laughing, they do offer glimpses of his lightheartedness. Here's a few examples. Jesus' relationship with children. If you go to Mark 10:13-16, it tells the story of Jesus gathering his children and blessing them. And his disciples initially tried to prevent that, but Jesus embraces his children, and that is demonstrating his affection for them. This playful interaction highlights his gentle and approachable nature. A lot of times Jesus liked to use a lot of parables and wordplay. Jesus frequently uses parables, which often contain humorous exaggerations and wordplay, to convey in his teachings. For example, the parable of the blind leading the blind in Matthew 7:5, humorous. It's a humorous exaggeration to highlight the hypocrisy of religious leaders. The story of Jesus renaming Peter as Cephas, Matthew 16:18, also demonstrates wordplay. Jesus' interaction with the woman in Mark 7:26-30, the woman cleverly uses the common belief that dogs were fed crumbs from the table to petition her daughter's healing. But Jesus, instead of being offended, finds humor in her statement and grants her request. Jesus often attended and enjoyed social gatherings, including weddings and lively meals with his friends. His participation of being joyful celebrations. Jesus enjoy in finding the lost sheep in parable of the lost sheep in Matthew 18:13, and Jesus rejoices when the shepherd finds the lost sheep, demonstrating his own joy and delight in finding those who are lost. These passages They suggest a sense of humor and joy and playfulness, and even while fulfilling his mission, his interactions with people and his teaching methods show that he was just not a serious teacher, but he was also relatable and he was an approachable figure. He was definitely friendly, for sure. Another really good book I might go over next time, it's called The Noticer, and that's by Andy Andrews. Have a good night.